to Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Sirius XM Channel 204.
Loaded hour as we are live in Las Vegas from the South Point Sportsbook. Mitch and Paul with you. Pauly, do you know that saying how we have a comedian's comedian? You know, the one person that all comedians look up to. I think if there was such a thing as a broadcaster's broadcaster, it very well might be our next guest, as Ian Eagle, voice of the Nets on the Yes Network, and the voice of so many other sports across so many other outlets, joins us now. Ian, it's a pleasure. Thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Let me just say one thing, though. My understanding is that it's comedians that respect me, not broadcasters. I don't know if that changes the whole narrative, but that's what I've heard.
Well, here's what I love. I mean, the chemistry, first of all, that story that came out about you and Bill Raftery about having great chemistry, I think was absolutely spot on. But you have awesome chemistry with whomever you work with. And I will say that your sense of humor comes across so well on almost every single broadcast that you do that I've heard, Ian. Really, truly, it does.
Oh, I really appreciate that. I think the approach that I had early on, I got the job when I was very young, and the first 25 games of doing the Nets, my executive producer called me and said, "Hey, you're really funny, but I'm not hearing that. You got to start bringing that to the table." And I thought to myself, at the age that I was doing this job and the way that the audience would perceive it, I really felt like I could blow any credibility right out of the gate. So I told him, yeah, I'll bring the funny. You got it. I didn't change anything. But about a month later, he called me, said, "Much better. No doubt about it. I'm hearing it now." And the reality was I hadn't changed it.
Yes, it was noticeable. I couldn't believe how strong your chemistry was with Brent Barry. But when you're doing different jobs and you're different sports, Barry, Spanarkel, Fouts, do you have it or you don't? I mean, is that something you can teach? Have you found out over the years?
Well, let me also say I would not hire that law firm. Barry, Spanarkel, Fouts. If I was on Murderer's Row, that's not a law firm that I would look towards. No, I think the key is to be malleable and be open to working around your analyst. I definitely realized that at a young age, that you're going to get viewed as a pair. You're not going to get viewed individually. So people turn on the TV or they turn on the radio and they say, "Wow, I like these guys," or I don't like these guys. So in order to make it work, adjust. And every analyst brings a little different something to the table. So my feeling was, all right, my job is to get the best out of him or her, and sometimes that requires a little more of me, and sometimes it requires a little less of me. To me, it was that simple.
Well said. Ian Eagle, our guest here. Follow the Money, Sirius XM 204. Can watch the show with the VSiN app and also on fuboTV. I was reading the feature, by the way. Great job in the New York Post this week, as we knew that you were coming on. And the thing that stood out more than anything else is that you've never had mustard. You've only tried ketchup once in your life. Like, how do you eat fries, hot dogs, hamburgers, the whole bit?
Yeah, no, I just eat the fries, the hot dogs, and the hamburgers. I don't put anything on it. The one time I had the ketchup was a complete accident. It was a fifth grade trip to Washington, D.C. So already, you're in fifth grade, you're going on this big trip. I was out of my comfort zone. I was disoriented. And at lunchtime, the teachers had bought McDonald's hamburgers, and they just started chucking them at us, basically, like catch a hamburger and eat it. So amidst this out-of-body experience, being in D.C., I grew up in Queens in New York, I bit into the hamburger, and I realized it had ketchup on it, and I had to control my gag reflex as to not upchuck in front of the other kids. That was my main objective at that point. So I took a bite, I kind of spit it out to the side, and I moved on with my life. And that's it. I have not had ketchup since that point. I've never had mustard. I've never willingly put mayo on something. I've never taken a jar of mayo and just laid it out on a turkey sandwich. Yeah, I'm just a plain freak.
Boy, that is weird.
That is. That's wild.
No, it's weird. I'm going to accept it. I can't even fight you on that. It's weird.
How about relish? Put a relish on the damn thing.
No relish. That relish would be almost the kryptonite. That's another level. I don't even know if I could function. My body would break down at that point if someone just said, "Hey, I'm just going to throw relish into your mouth." I don't think I would survive it.
How about at restaurants when you get a steak? I'm not going to go as far as to say A1, but when the chef actually makes a special sauce, his sauce that he puts on it, do you go that?
Yeah.
Would you do that or no?
No, I've offended many, many chefs, I think, because I'll tell the waiter, "Hey, can you just put that sauce on the side?" They say, "Well, we really recommend the sauce blends with the meat. It creates it." I'm like, no, we're not going to do any of that. You're going to put it on the side, and then I'm going to eat my meal.
That is awesome.
That's good.
All right, let's do a little NBA here then. How is it possible, and Ian Eagle is our guest here, Follow the Money, Sirius XM 204, fuboTV. How is it possible that the Nets have turned this around before the Knicks?
Yeah, that is not something that people would have predicted 3 years ago when Sean Marks took over this job. They had very little in the cupboard. They didn't have any assets. They didn't have any draft picks. They had a creative GM who was just starting a new position, who hired a head coach who had never been a head coach in the NBA, and Kenny Atkinson. And they were given free rein to build it up the way that they saw fit. And that didn't happen overnight. It was a struggle out of the gate, 20 wins year one, 28 wins year two. And now here they are already above that 28-win total and a chance to be a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. Baby steps, did it through the draft, some very shrewd moves, salary dumps that they took on and then turned that into assets. They realized that they were in a position that teams would go to them to accept some dump money. But with that would be an attached number one pick and sometimes a second-round pick. And they've turned those picks into legitimate players. Karis LeVert is a big-time player. And Jared Allen has a chance to be a big-time player. And Rodions Kurucs, a second-round pick, has been an impact player. They take on D'Angelo Russell in a trade with Brook Lopez because the Lakers just didn't want him anymore. They looked at him as a project, as a developmental project, and he has developed. He's an all-star this year. Spencer Dinwiddie, a player that could have been taken by any team in the NBA. He was available. He signed the minimum of minimum deals to get to the Nets and has turned that into a much richer deal after his play. So just a lot of great little stories along the way. And then the macro is that Atkinson and his coaching staff have really preached the team concept, moving the ball. Joe Harris, another one, and wins the three-point shootout. The guy is a stud. He was at an NBA minimum for 2 years and then got rewarded with a 2-year, $16 million deal. So that's the key word, development. If you come to Brooklyn, your game will develop and you will benefit, as will the team, and that's exactly how it's played out.
What do you think of the MVP business, where the last 3 years Harden is saying, I'm the guy and I'm going to win the award and I should win the award, which I find interesting. And I know what he's doing is fantastic with the number, but let's be honest, he's chasing stats. They're down 20 the other night. He's in the game. They're fouling. They're down 15 against Denver with 30 seconds. He's in the game chucking. Who saw this out of Milwaukee? They have the best record in the league. To me, what Freak is doing, I mean, Harden leads SportsCenter every night. No one's talking about Freak. He's putting up ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Right now, if you're asking me to pick the MVP, I think Giannis would get the award. Look at what he's done with this group. I think it's a really nice team around him, but he's elevated everybody around him, and they're no longer just a cute little story out of Milwaukee. They've got the best record in the Eastern Conference, and look, I think when the smoke clears, Toronto will be right there with them, and the Raptors may even pass them, but that should take nothing away from what the Greek Freak has done this year. He would probably get my number one vote. I think Oklahoma City, Paul George has actually gotten himself into the conversation, the way he's elevated his game. That team is playing at a high level, and if you're trying to find a team that could actually contend with the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference playoffs, to me, Oklahoma City has the firepower. The question will become playoff time if those guys can handle that stage and playing in tight games over the course of a 7-game series against a team that has done it for a living. That'll be the only question I have with OKC.
Okay. Do you have a favorite WFAN story?
Favorite WFAN story? Yeah, there were a few of them. I mean, I was there a long, long time. Obviously worked with Mike and the Mad Dog. I was the board op for them for a year. And the best part, they would plot during the breaks how they were going to rip me coming back from break. But they had no idea that I understood, even though I was not a very good board op, they had no idea that I understood how to listen to them without it being on the air. So I would hear everything they were saying during the break. They just forgot that those were still mics in front of them. And then I would be prepared for whatever they thought they were going to knock me down with. And it just became an ongoing process where, I just went back at them. And I think it actually probably helped my career in a way, because the witty retorts were in the arsenal. I had 30 seconds to prepare for whatever they were going to bring my way. I really enjoyed my time there. It was the start of sports radio. It was this phenomenon that was hitting. And, it's funny. I got to obviously move on to Jets play-by-play and the Nets and CBS. And years went by, and I'm doing all these jobs, and I was out having a piece of pizza somewhere, and someone came up to me and said, hey, Iron Eagle, right? WFAN radio? I said, yeah. Hey, thanks. Nice to meet you. They go, oh, man, I loved you on the fan. I said, what are you doing these days? I was like, really? Nothing? You got nothing? I was like, I got into dentistry. I love teeth. It struck me as very comical.
Got out of the business. You love teeth.
Yeah.
That's great. We can close on this. Iron Eagle, our guest here, Follow the Money, Sirius XM 204 and fuboTV. So you do the games, obviously, in a lot of these sports, but primarily the NBA with the Nets. And that league is run by a very progressive commissioner who wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times back in 2014 about legalized sports betting. And so living where you do, and now that we have more states where it is legal, do you hear more chatter about sports betting?
No, I thought I would this year. There was a lot of talk prior to the season that it would actually become more of a constant on our broadcast, that you might even see the over-under in the corner of the little box where you have the scoring, or you might see the line pop up. But that didn't come to fruition. That was just an early conversation. I think it's still on the table. I think we're close. That's on the verge of happening around the country. I know some local broadcasts. Was it Philadelphia or Washington? They've been doing some broadcasts focused on the gambling part of the NBA, and actually it's part and parcel with the conventional broadcast. I think you're going to see it. You could feel that it's on the precipice, but it didn't happen this year. I thought it would be more a part of the coverage this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was the Wizards who did it a couple times. I think they're going to do it 8 times this year. But I'm with you. I think that's closer to happening. That's going to be sooner than later, where that idea of maybe seeing the point spread in the over-under, like in the small box by the score or whatever it is. Ian, great talking to you, man. That was awesome. Thanks so much for the time today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Keep it up. Great being on with you, and we'll do it again soon, I hope.
Yep.
Thank
there you go. Take care. Loves teeth.
Big fan.
Hates ketchup and mustard.
What are you doing now? Nothing. That's wild, huh? The guy's everywhere. I think he's the best in the business, but all the sports, he does the big-time football. He's with Fouts CBS. He does March Madness. He does the Nets games. He does the big playoff games in the NBA.
In the NFL, by the way, he was traveling doing games on radio for Westwood One.
Yeah.
His travel schedule is one coast to the next.
Ian Eagle
game
from
after
a fan.
game. Different.
How you doing?
Hey.
Well, that was a great story, too, about because we've done this 20 years in radio where the consultants come in, but the consultants are paid to pick out mistakes. And
Sure.
So it's like, okay, come and do this, and then it's like, they'll give you a list of things you should change or do, and then you don't do anything, and they're like, oh, yeah, really here and there. Good job. I didn't do a damn thing.
No, never changed once.
You fool. Got on a ski mask.
We're getting a reaction to his hatred, though, he's never tried mustard.
Love mustard.
One time by a mistake with ketchup. Condiments, forget about it for the most part.
Yeah, but how do you eat? I can't imagine not having some ketchup on a fry. Not all the time, but...
Well, see, you're a unique bastard, too, because you'll eat a plain hot dog.
Yes, I will.
To me, you should be locked up and put away.
Oh, my Nathan's hot dog. I go plain. The Nathan.
That makes me
Don't need it.
The thought of that makes me want a gag. With
Put
nothing
ketchup on the hot dog?
mustard, onions.
A little relish, maybe.
Little relish?
No.
Sure.
Maybe relish. No.
There's
Nathan's doesn't need anything.
One of my weaknesses, a good Chicago hot dog. You get the pop, the sesame seed bun, whatever that is, and you put the peppers on it, the tomatoes. That's awesome. But we're getting reaction to that more than anything else. This is from one of our parody accounts, at Bad Pete Moss. Hard to ever trust a guy who doesn't put ketchup on anything.
Come on.
How about this one? 10-year-old hates my 10-year-old hates any condiment. Drives me crazy. That's from Evan.
Must be a fiasco at the steakhouse, right?
You will drive chefs bananas. I've learned that being married to a chef. It's the special sauce. You like the pepper, huh?
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Special sauce. Yeah. The waiter goes to bat for the guy. They're in cahoots.
Yeah.
Like, we recommend you do it this way.
This is what you do.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's going to come out here.
Hey, I respect it. He sticks to his guns. No, I will not have it that way. No, we're not doing that.
No, here's what's going to happen.
We're not going to do it that way.
You're going to make it like this. Otherwise, you see that door? I'm leaving. Bye.
Yep.
I don't know how you eat fries plain, though, all the time, too.
Hard to imagine Mike Francesa didn't know how equipment worked and that the board op could actually hear him when he's talking into the microphone.
It's a surprising
story
to believe. From there, too.
Hard to believe Russo ripping somebody either. Right? Can you imagine that? Oh, I'd love to meet Iron Eagle just to get those stories.
That'd be awesome.
Mike, I got to tell you, this kid behind the board's terrible. Just a horrible job. Bad job out of this guy. Poorly produced. We're back on the fan.
Yeah.
Ian, how you doing? Now, you're terrible.
No, but he would say you're terrible. Doing a great job back there. What are you talking about? You're just ripping me, huh? How'd you hear that? Up next, follow the money here, Sirius XM 204 and fuboTV. We'll talk about this Tim Donaghy story that dropped yesterday on ESPN.com. It was fascinating, and the most impossible part to believe from the story is what we'll bring up coming up next.
It's been between 2 and 3 minutes. You know what that means. It must be time for more Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on Sirius XM 204.
At the bottom of this hour, Johnny Avello is going to join us in studio with DraftKings Sportsbook back east, and we will ask him about the differences betting specifically in New Jersey compared to right here in Las Vegas. If you did not catch up or read, it was a very long, lengthy, many thousands of words on this Tim Donaghy story yesterday on ESPN.com, and it was an excellent piece. They spent 2 years on this because they knew that there was more to what the original investigation showed. And it begins by pointing out that there are many misconceptions about the Donaghy scandal. Perhaps the greatest is that Donaghy was the ref who colluded with gamblers on NBA games for one disgraceful season. They pointed out it was incorrect. According to the court document, Donaghy and his buddy Jack placed their first bet on a game Donaghy was refereeing back in March of 2003, more than 4 years and 4 NBA seasons before he was caught. He started small. In that first March, he only bet on 2 or 3 games. The next season, though, it went up big time, between 30 and 40 wagers. The same with the season after that and the season after that. And this quote from his wife is very telling. She said to the person who wrote the story, quote, Tim was very, very secretive. He was always locked in a room on the phone. So talking to his gambling buddies, and I know the phone calls to Scott Foster, another referee in the NBA.
I always thought he was dirty. It didn't. Who? You don't call your wife that many times.
No, you don't. You don't call anybody that many times.
They are talking every day, before and after games, for 2 minutes or less with the phone calls. 60-second phone calls before tip. Calling right. What do you think they're talking about?
Sure.
Who calls somebody that many times?
Did you see that dunk tonight in the game I was doing? Nah, that wasn't what it was whatsoever. And then she found on accident a big wad of $100 bills rolled into a rubber band when she was going to do some laundry. It was in an NBA jacket. And this person asked her how big it was, and she goes like this, about the size of an orange, for the rolled up $100 bills, and they were all over the place eventually. He had to try to find ways to hide money, backyard, hiding in other places. He would go to casinos with a disguise on because he liked to gamble, always on the golf course.
That's how it started, too, yeah. He was he had a gambling issue. But in that story, in part of the story, that Joe Vito, they dug up his backyard. They found $1.1 million. The records, Donaghy's phone records show he made several calls to Foster on days of games, generally for no more than 2 minutes. Also, Donaghy called Foster. He used the phone that he dedicated to gambling-related phone calls, and the phone calls stopped abruptly when Donaghy said he stopped gambling. Somehow, Foster was cleared. Also, during their investigation, the NBA's like, no, he wasn't fixing games. Wasn't fixing games. Yeah. He's betting on games. He's reffing.
Sure.
He's got a whistle.
He was
the guys in the story that are betting, has plays and getting down, they're like, I had to shut the game off. It was so obvious what he was doing with the calls.
And the other Stern kept saying, by the way, yeah, he's one of the most accurate referees we have.
Yeah, right.
Not fixing games.
Yeah.
Really? He's winning? And okay.
And the whole thing, too, because the guy's not making peanuts. He's an NBA ref, and they're paying him $2,000 a game. That's it. They eventually sweetened it to $5,000.
It took him a while to wake up and realize that.
It's $2,000 a game they started him out at. Meanwhile, they're betting six figures on every game. They're giving him $2,000 if it hits.
Eventually, according to this story, people were getting down millions of dollars. In offshore Asian markets.
Oh, of course. The Billy Walters head fake.
Yep.
Betting the other side early, coming back and burying it. And then, the game book, someone made over $200 million. You got one guy who was the great-grandson of a guy who founded Goldman Sachs. The people who are involved here. Got the other guy who now, who made all this money, right? Well, some guy who's got 30 Planet Fitnesses now.
Sure.
What do you think he was doing?
Yeah, you think he did anything okay?
Oh, my God.
Made some money with that?
But the big one, I had to call you immediately, and it's 20 pages long, but the story, well done, and 2 years of research, and they talked to over 100 people, did not get a hold of Donaghy, and Stern wouldn't talk, and all the... So the FBI tells Donaghy, or Donaghy tells the FBI, I'm not the only one. There's other guys doing this. They go, okay, we'll see. He's going to wear a wire. Donaghy's going to wear a wire and go talk to his buddies and all these NBA refs. But then according to the FBI guy, Scala, that the NBA leaked it to the paper, to Murray Weiss, about the report, and it blew the whole thing up.
Right, so put the kibosh on it because
can you imagine?
There's no doubt they knew others. Come on.
Imagine what goes down if he does that. They didn't want that out. Oh, God.
No, and again, in the story, there was one person connected to the NBA that told Murray Weiss, who wrote the story for the Times back then, if you don't do this the right way, Stern's going to smash you. He's going to crush you. That was in the story. That's what the writer got from Murray Weiss. Weiss no longer with the paper. He works as a producer on one of the shows on CBS.
Our plans were blown up by the fact that somebody leaked this. I don't like to talk in terms of coulda, woulda, shoulda, but if the Post story didn't come out, Donaghy would have worn a wire, and I don't know where it would have gone. Things may have been different. That's the bottom line. And their whole company line the whole time was it was impossible to fix a game in the NBA. He said that was a crock of shit.
Yeah, he knew that right away.
That's a quote.
Everybody kept going to the well with that. No, impossible, impossible, impossible. And so ESPN did this on their own. They went back and looked at 40 games during the stretch of the 2006-2007 season. They threw 10 of them out because they were all blowouts. So then they looked at all the calls and how Donaghy was favoring the teams in which he may have had bets on. Well, 23 times the calls went in favor of the team that he had money on. 3 times it didn't, and 4 times it was even. And they got a hold of some people that, mathematicians, to break down the odds on that. And for that to randomly happen, it would be almost 6,200 to 1 for calls to break that way over a course of 30 games.
Tommy Martino on how much Donaghy said he could influence an NBA game. 6 points either way is what he said. Did say there's nothing I can do if it's a blowout, but they also go down the list here of games he was on where 12 straight fouls on one team that he had. Free throw disparity off the charts.
Yep.
And he even told, and this part of the story, where I have an idea of who it is, but there was a big bettor, NBA bettor, who had lost money. He was involved in Donaghy games and lost, and he confronted Donaghy. And Donaghy told him, I was fixing games, and how he liked to do it. A few years after Donaghy's release from prison, he became curious after suffering losses on Donaghy ref games during that season. Described the conversation with Donaghy on the condition he does not use his name to the ESPN story. Donaghy acknowledged he deliberately called more fouls against the side he'd bet against, told the gambler about other tactics as well, like to call an illegal defense right away in the first minute. That way, Donaghy could force the side he'd pick against to play a little less aggressively on defense. He'd pick on the big center or the most valuable player of each team, and he tried to get them in foul trouble. The gambler added, he also told me they were betting millions, and he was an idiot to not ask for more. And then, just to show you the power of the NBA and how they didn't want this out, he comes out of prison and he has a book deal, and the NBA put the kibosh on it. Although he had to go to an independent, personal foul was called. That ultimately came out. But they shut that down when he came out with the book. It was Random House, yeah. They killed the book. And then the publisher goes, I want you to take a lie detector. Donaghy says, no, I'll fail. And then ESPN goes, there are 4 people who said that Donaghy told them he was fixing games. Well, what the hell are we doing here?
I know it.
I mean, if you have money, if you're going to get paid based on the fact if your pick hits or the bet wins and you're a ref, who do you think's going to get a call? He wasn't fixing games.
Yeah.
The dumbest thing
Impossible
ever.
not to when it's all piled together.
Oh, if he wears a wire.
Yep.
Oh, the whole thing, and then the meeting. That's another fascinating part of the story. He said about, but Donaghy is saying when he met with these guys, it was extortion because they agreed. He's with his buddy, and he's like, okay, we're gonna go down this road. We're gonna bet NBA games. This guy couldn't pick his nose,
Yep.
and he's betting $100 and $200 a game on football. Can't win. All of a sudden, he's betting like 5 times on the NBA, and he can't lose.
Yeah.
So then the bookies are like, well, this doesn't add up. Let me check this out. And they look at the box score. They know he's friends with Donaghy. Donaghy's on every game. He's betting and winning.
Sure.
So then they confront him, and they're saying, Donaghy's saying it's extortion about, hey, you don't want the mafia coming to your house. We'll turn you in. We know what you're doing. There's 2 guys are saying, hey, Donaghy's his idea. He went along with it. It's like, okay, fine, let's go.
Amazing read. Carve out some time today if you haven't read it yet. It's absolutely incredible on ESPN.com. Up next, Johnny Avello is going to join us in studio with DraftKings Sportsbooks. We'll ask him about the differences betting back east in New Jersey at DraftKings and in Las Vegas right now. That's coming up here on VSiN.
It's been between 2 and 3 minutes. You know what that means. It must be time for more Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on Sirius XM 204.
Well, a special treat this morning. We always love it when somebody is kind enough to join us in studio this early, and Johnny Avello is that guy today with DraftKings Sportsbooks. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. It really means a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. I was driving to work, and you guys said stop in. I said it'd be great. I'm going in early, and my first stop of the day.
Very cool.
Thank you.
So can you describe to us right now, and we're going to have a guest on tomorrow to talk about this as well, but some of the differences right now, what you're allowed to put up. I've noticed a lot at your books, other books back east, compared to what's possible to bet there and here in Las Vegas. It's been around forever here in Las Vegas and in Nevada, and yet I see stuff that's available now back east that has never been available in Las Vegas, and I'm thinking to myself, how is this possible?
When you're an operator, if you want to do something, you go to the gaming enforcement in Jersey, and you present it, and then, lay out the facts. This is what we want to do. This one we want to put it up. This one we'll close it. And then you wait for permission. And luckily, we've been able to get permission on some things that we have never been able to do in Las Vegas. This year, we had the color to Gatorade. Now, that's been around for a while, but mostly on an offshore properties. And we're able to offer that. We're able to offer will Gronkowski or Belichick or Brady retire after the game, things of that nature.
Oh.
So you present them, and hopefully the DGE will allow you to do so.
As I understand it, they get right back to you.
They do.
So what's going on here then?
Yeah, I'm not going to knock Nevada. They've just always been a little on the cautious side. It's a big gaming mecca here. Probably didn't want to jeopardize some of the things that were going on, but I think things are going to change now.
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be progressive enough to keep up. Otherwise, it's a 1-year sample size, but the Super Bowl handle, right, down like $13 million this year. They're going to have to say, well, because Jeff Sherman told us a story from the Westgate yesterday, they need 30 days to put the slam dunk contest up. And Jeff said they've never said anything about needing 30 days to put anything up. And they said, no, they couldn't put it up because they didn't have enough notice this year. Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you do need to prepare them. You have to give them a list of some things you want to do down the road, maybe not too far down the road, and give him time. Super Bowl handle was down, and I think of that in different ways, why it was down. If you go back and look at the last time they had the spike a couple of years ago, the following year it went down. You looked at the money line this year, you couldn't get somebody to come up and lay, 3-1, lay 300,000 to win 100, those type of bets. We missed those type of bets because the spread was tighter. And the Patriots were in it again. Maybe people just got tired of, the Patriots being in the game. So I don't knock it so much as the handle falling off in Nevada as much as I do the matchup and circumstances of the game. Plus, the game was terrible, wasn't it?
Yes.
So the end game was down also.
You mentioned Gatorade. We have the Oscars now. What do you think's next in New Jersey? You see how nuts people go for the coin toss. I think the national anthem would be easy. You just, when she starts singing to when they finish. And that you get rid of the Brave controversy. I think people would go nuts for that. The length of the national anthem. You agree?
Yeah. No, I think they'll play anything, Paul.
They will.
They will bet anything. They will.
You put it out there and it has some interest, and I don't know what's next. There's a lot of things we could do in that entertainment realm. Do we want to, do the Tonys? The Grammys just passed. That's a good event. We want to do the American Music Awards. Do we want to get into American Idol, or do we want to get in Dancing with the Stars? Those type of things.
Yeah.
What you want to stay away from is The Bachelor, because it starts and it's over when the first episode airs. So those are the things to stay away from. So make sure when you're doing something that everybody knows the results at the same time.
So do you have Oscars available right now?
We do.
You do?
Yes.
How's it been received?
Pretty good. It's I view it as any other event. As you get closer to the event, you'll get action day before, 2 days before, leading up. It's Sunday, so Friday, Saturday. But so far, there's been some play. We have all 24 categories up.
Oh, see, that's tremendous.
Yeah.
I love that idea. And they came back to you right away and said, yeah, okay, we'll think about this, and here you go. Yeah, bam, put them up.
It was pretty quick.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. And, I've been doing the Oscars for 25 years.
Entertainment
making
purposes,
odds just for entertainment purposes only. And this is the first time we've ever been able to book it. So it's been fun so far.
Who do you like this year? Not the chalk. Anything? Can you see a potential dog?
I can.
Maybe. Okay.
I can. In best movie, I don't know if you guys saw any of the movies this year.
Some of them.
Roma was on Netflix. And Roma was called a masterpiece by the New York Times. So I said, I can't wait to see this. Well, the first part of the movie, I gave a D. And the second part of the movie, I gave a C+. So I said, I got to go back and see this again. So I watched it a second time, which is very rare for me. And I did not change my rating. So Roma, we have as a 1 to 3 favorite, mostly because, the hype of it. And that's where the odds should be based on what everybody's thinking, but who knows what the actual Academy voters, 6,000, are thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is the way they're going to go. So I can see an upset in this category. Now, what is that upset? Is it Green Book? Possibly. Maybe Black Panther at like 25 to 1.
I would love that.
Black Klansman at 25 or 28 to 1.
I like
so it. I see an possible upset in that category, best movie.
I like the angle of Spike Lee to take home Best Director, kind of the career achievement thing, and people are actually saying that this is his best movie of all time. And I think that he was recently plus 750.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Mitch, because
the other guy.
Alonzo Cuarón is, I feel he's pretty locked in with.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Now, if you're gonna reward Spike Lee, maybe you can reward him for Black Klansman as best movie. That
Sure.
way he gets some type of reward. But there's two categories to me that look like they're kind of in cement, and that's Best Director and Supporting Actor. Ali for Supporting Actor for Green Book. So those two to me look pretty solid.
Overall, that guy's awesome. I know I haven't caught up on True Detective yet, but Pauly,
Oh, God.
the season's great.
What a performance.
Yeah.
What a TV show and what a performance. He's unbelievable. Are you noticing, when did you notice there was something wild going on with NHL first period overs?
It doesn't take bookmakers to find that out once you start getting buried. It only takes about maybe a week and a half. Before
That's a weird bet. So that's about a week and a half.
And it continued for going on quite a while, and my feelings are that it will level off. It's an aberration
This year, there's 20 games left.
Yeah, I know that, and certainly in the playoffs, you'll see
All right.
things will tighten up a little bit.
Imagine that'll be wild. What if
Yeah.
it continues? You're the perfect guy to handle, because then you get the professionals involved saying, "Hey, it's playoff hockey. You can't have goal and a half over 180."
Yeah, you can't use two, and you got to either use
Why not?
use 1.5 and strong because you don't want to refund. No, you could,
Can't have
but
two. Can't have
refunded
two,
money.
yeah.
So I think you use 1.5 with strong juice over, or 2.5 with juice under, and you make your adjustments And maybe if you really are getting that buried, it's time to make a drastic adjustment. Use the 2.5.
Hey, I love that idea, and I think the possibility of using multiple options, like put up a goal and a half, juice it how you like, then put up 2.5, put up 3.5, put up 4.5, and juice whatever juice you want on it, and let us have at it.
And use the 2 also.
Yeah,
use the 2. Use the 2 also. You can use 1.5, 2, 2.5.
Sure.
3.5 if you like. So yeah, why not?
7-0 for the major teams the last 2 days.
It's crazy, isn't it? I said the adjustment would take place 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it's been nuts.
It hasn't happened.
It's been crazy.
It hasn't happened.
Will you accommodate everybody? I mean, in terms, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's
Are you seeing someone coming up like, okay, everyone knows about this. I want to bet as much as I can on it?
I don't know if anybody has come up and want to bet as much as they can because the adjustment's taken place. You're laying some pretty strong juice now. And so, and bookmaker, we've seen these type of things before, and then we make our adjustments, and then they usually come back. Unless we find out that the whole game has changed. If the whole game is actually changed, like we know that the goalies are not wearing as much padding, and so is that part of it? Maybe. But is it just an aberration for this year? We'll have to see.
What can you compare it to? You just alluded to it earlier. But
there were some, like in the NFL, there were things happening where the totals were going over every week, or the first half was going over. We've had these type of things happen, but then it adjusted itself. It wasn't something that was actually happened in the game that made that happen. It was just a period of time where we had a freak show.
I think you hit on it though. The sport has changed. We're now 60 games in here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Blackhawks are at 78%. The Stars are at.
There's so much speed now in the game.
70% under.
There's so much open ice, so many chances every single night. I mean, it's bedlam out there on the ice in a fun way.
I don't know. I mean, we're watching the game. We're not seeing much of a change as far as I can tell. But the game's faster.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's chaos.
Game's faster.
Is there anything that you don't miss from your old job?
Calls in the middle of the night. Calls probably. You leave work at 6. That's not the end of the night. You're getting calls all the way up till 9 on maybe bets. Guys want to make a bigger size bet, or something happened in the middle of the night, a shortage or a customer issue, and then other calls happen 1, 2 in the morning. I'll get a call from the cage that guy's cashing a big ticket, or I've got calls from Steve before in the middle of the night. And
how does that usually go?
That's all right. He wants to talk about something, probably, and a lot of times nothing to do with the business.
He's up, wants to talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you describe the type of clientele that you had there? I mean, 200,000, this is regular action, right? Guys would come in, high rollers, betting. I was playing at the blackjack. By the way, I won 100,000 on a basketball game.
Yeah, weekends we had some big action on football. $40,000, $50,000 bets in basketball were quite common for some players, and yeah, it was a high action store.
Is that why you were higher a lot on baseball? What would happen? Could a guy influence the market if like a high roller was on locally? If a guy was on a hot run at your place?
Yes, I tell you, we didn't do well the last 2 years in baseball. And we had some guys that were just betting, 30 a game and laying the chalk. They don't care if it was 260, 360. It did not matter. And so you'd see our prices way out of whack. I don't know, you guys, if you were following our numbers, you would see.
I could see it.
We were way out of whack. Sometimes we're off 30, 40 cents from market. On the higher ones, on the 50 cent, around the 50 to 80 cent spreads, we were probably 15 cents off a lot of times. Just trying to get a little something back.
Yeah.
We just went on some really poor runs as bookmakers, and I mean, our players were just keying on those big chalks every single night. And there's that run where it takes place, good 6-week run, and we would get buried during that run.
I remember the first time I ever pulled up to the Encore valet with my wife. We got out, and we had whatever, rusted out car or whatever at the time, decent, whatever it was. Guy, maybe a little bit older than me at the time, is in the back seat, gets out of like the sharpest looking Rolls Royce I've ever seen in my entire life, with his driver there, obviously. And I'm just like, this is not, I'm not at a local casino right now, am I? A little bit different here down in the Strip at the Wynn and Encore.
Yeah, it is.
That was pretty impressive to watch that guy kind of operate. He was probably in his late 30s at the time. I was like, oh man, different ball game now.
It certainly is. I mean, we had the type of guests that frequent a hotel, anywhere between 4 to 6 times a year.
Yeah.
And it's not a cheap place for sure. Everything in there is quite on the pricey side. So
it's great though.
Yeah,
great spot to go.
It was really good. And we built that book out, and it was. I just loved the way that thing turned out. It was yeah, tremendous location to watch games.
We'll continue with Johnny Avello now with DraftKings Sportsbooks back in New Jersey, also Mississippi. We'll talk about maybe their book expanding to other states here coming up in the new year, 2019, now that it's upon us, and also where we stand right now, a month and a half or so after the National Championship of Sports Betting with Johnny coming up next.
And And we're back with more Follow the Money on Sirius XM 204. Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard have the mics for the information you need to win.
Have about 5 more minutes here. Johnny Avello joins us in studio. Very kind to do so. DraftKings Sportsbooks back in New Jersey and Mississippi right now. By the end of 2019, how many other states do you think?
New York. I believe New York may come on sometime, maybe third quarter or so. And I don't know what else after that. I'm sure. I think there's going to be some surprises, and I'm not sure what those surprises are right now.
Do you think California is going to be the last one to jump on board?
Yeah, probably.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're a little slow to get going. Yeah, so maybe not next year, possibly the year after.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be the same case with a Florida too.
So once New York passes, you guys are going to be there like ASAP.
Yeah, it's also about cutting the right deals too. You have
Sure.
to make sure that it works for you, for your company. That's where you want to be. That's the image you want to portray. That's who you want to work with. So it's more than just jumping into a place. It's make sure you're working with the right people.
Okay, so the National Championship of Sports Betting took place a little bit more than a month ago back in New Jersey. So the people that are listening to this, probably we don't have a lot of time to exactly remind people exactly what took place, but there was some controversy at the very end. Where do we stand right now, and what are you guys going to do to move forward if you have to?
Well, we followed the rules correctly. Now, with that being said, we need to make some changes. Those two games butted up against one another. We informed everybody before the day started and when they were registering that this could possibly happen, and it happened. It was very unfortunate. I feel bad for some of the guys that didn't get their bets in. It was terrible. But we did inform people that it could happen. And what happened was when the game was posted. Now, remember, we have a lot of action going on in New Jersey, not just this contest. The contest was played on the mobile app, and there were others in the state of New Jersey, our normal clients, that were also playing. When we posted the game, it just took a while for that whole process to reconcile. And unfortunately, we had about a 4-minute window or so. I remember I was hoping, come on, guys, get this game over with. Mm-hmm. And, it didn't. Some of the guys didn't get their bets processed and therefore weren't able to, get the next bet in. And it was unfortunate. Now, for us moving forward, there's some changes we need to make. I think the process of registering could have been better. We'll work on that next year. We'll work on this for sure, make sure that doesn't happen. We can possibly extend the time you can bet and maybe extend into the first, get through the whole first half and maybe bet the second half, things of that nature. So we'll regroup and, try to make some changes.
Were people getting preferential treatment who went to the counter?
Absolutely, 100% not. I was there. If you were at the location, the sports book we had set up, you could go. We had a room set up where you could go in and say, I didn't want this bet, got it by mistake. Can you help me, void it? Those type of things. But you could do that from anywhere. So we had guys there that were helping customer service guys, trying to help them. But no one ever got a bet posted. Went to somebody and said, post this bet before this one. No, that just doesn't happen. First, the posting doesn't even take place there. It takes place at a central location. And so everything got posted at the same time, or, post this, post that. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the game took the longest to post, and that's why some guys got shut out. But there's no way there was any preferential treatment to anybody, on the posting side.
You can answer this however you would like. Have you heard from any of the bettors that were involved that could have maybe won the tournament that did not?
I personally have not. I'm sure the home office has, and, some guys have been involved in that, but I personally have not.
So you would still like to move forward, though, and have the tournament again next year? Would it be around the same weekend, or would you tinker with that and maybe move it to a different weekend?
That's yet to be determined. Like I said, there'll be a regroup on, what changes we want to make moving forward and how we could make it better. What's the best time structure? We have not put that into place yet.
So other projects that you might be working on, maybe not for this year, but upcoming years, do you think at some point we are going to see another book, another state offer something like the Super Contest here in town?
Oh, I believe so. Yeah, I mean, it's I could see that taking place online. throughout the entire country at some point. You know, there's some challenges there. There's the Wire Act. You have to be able to go from state to state instead of just being relegated to one individual state. But when the thing opens up a little bit more, I could see a contest like that being nationwide.
Johnny, thanks so much for coming in today. We appreciate that.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Great stuff.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Johnny Avello with DraftKings. Gil is going to follow us with a numbers game for the next 2 hours. Have a great night. We'll see you.
More of Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard is on the way. But don't get left out on VSiN's new Point Spread Weekly. Find out more at VSiN.com.